Hi, this is Stacia, and today I'm going to present to you a game played and annotated by Bobby Fischer. So this is from his book, My 60 Memorable Games. And today we're going to look at game number one. And I'll be honest with you, I still don't think I've spent about maybe 3 hours analyzing this game, maybe more. I still don't think I fully understand it. All right, so it's kind of complex and complicated, but there's always things you can learn from someone as great as Bobby Fischer. So let's take a look at this game. This was played in the New Jersey Open Championship in 1957. And Fischer's opponent was 14 years old, named Sherwin. And yeah, good player. So let's have a look. Fischer started with e4. Sherwin responded with c5, the Sicilian defense. Knight f3. And now e6. So this move's interesting to me. It's not the main move that would be played here. It's called the French variation of the Sicilian. And Fischer plays an interesting move here. Like, I would expect d4, like d4 is desirable. And after takes, this is a normal Sicilian thing. But instead he played d3 here. Looks passive at first glance. And this is probably the first move when I analyzed that I was like, what, really, d3? But Fischer was known for playing his King's Indian attack setups. And so he's looking to go g3, bishop g2, castles kingside, knight bd2, and maybe, I don't know, maybe attack, who knows. So knight c6, g3, knight f6 developing, bishop g2, bishop e7. And yeah, if you're wondering about black's moves, I mean, they're fine. These knights are fine. They develop pieces. Hard to argue with that. But he's sort of keeping it a mystery where his pawn is going. Like, is he going to break d5? Is he going to play d6? Is he going to try b6? I mean, he's sort of keeping it a mystery. Fischer castles. Is he castled? It's still a mystery. Knight bd2. And now I would call this the first interesting move of the game. Rook b8. Okay. And I want to read to you what Fischer wrote about this move because it makes me happy. All right, here, it's entertaining. It said, or Fischer said, Sherwin slid the rook here with his pinky as if to emphasize the cunning of this mysterious move. And then he gives a line where black plays d5 instead, which is more normal. Yeah, so I don't know, even after analyzing the game, unfortunately for all of us, I'm not sure what Sherwin had in mind with this move. Maybe just get off the diagonal, like so. With the rook here, it's in danger, and maybe he's just trying to be mysterious about what he's going to do with his pawns. He could also go for this. I mean, it's just sort of like not clarified yet what black's pawn structure is going to be. Fischer played rook e1. This is a natural move. The rook is often useful here defending this e-pawn, maybe helping with e5, maybe helping with d4 because d4 would undefend this pawn. All right, d6 was played. So Sherwin finally shows his intentions with his pawns. c3 by Fischer. So now he's definitely thinking about d4. Also, this opens up the queen's diagonal. And b6 was played. Okay, so clearly Sherwin wants to put his bishop here. b6 kind of set an alarm bell off for me when I was analyzing because ding, 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 the bishop's undefended. but I cannot find a way to exploit this, and Fischer didn't even comment on it. So I assume this is fine. Bishop's coming here to defend next move. Or I would expect next move. Yeah, and Fischer played d4. Okay. So getting d4 in is good for white, and now the pawn duo is created in the center. If black takes, no problem. We take with a c-pawn, and we maintain the duo. So let's see what black does. He went queen c7. Okay, so I want to comment on this move because, well, Fischer commented. I'm going to read to you what he wrote about this move. He said, queen c7, this leads to trouble. Black should strive for counterplay by opening the c file, which I didn't really understand, but he says better is this idea. Push d5, and he thought that there could be counterplay in the c file. My only contention with that is, well, the rook already moved once, and now it belongs on c8, so I feel like this still loses a tempo for black. But maybe this is still his best chance. Plus, he could have played d5 earlier too, so I don't know. But queen c7. And why does this lead to trouble? Well, if you'd like to pause your video and try to determine that, I think that would be a useful exercise. So go ahead and do so now. There's one concrete reason why queen to c7 is a little bit suspicious. And Fischer shows us tactically, but not right away. Okay. So I'm going to get to why this queen is not best here. But let's first look at Fischer's move. e5. Yeah, I mean, looks natural to me. e5 is sufficiently supported. We have this pawn, this knight, and this rook defending or supporting the push. And black has 1, 2, 3, so not quite enough. Also, this move is desirable, especially when it comes with tempo against the knight. The only thing you'd have to watch out for, in my opinion, are knight moves that are good for black. So like, you have to look out for knight d7, knight d5, and maybe even knight g4. I think knight g4 here is horrible. We would just play h3 and the knight has to go here and maybe probably just get captured. Knight d7 actually loses material, I do believe. Let's see. So Fischer gave this line, takes, knight e4, and after takes, we take the bishop first, queen takes, bishop f4 skewering, and this move doesn't quite work because we have this. Knight takes e5. Interesting move, right? So the point is that after knight takes, now we take the pawn. And guess what? There's a pin. So we are going to win this knight. So knight d7 doesn't work. So in the game played was knight d5. Makes sense. Plunk your knight in the center of the board, right? Usually a good idea. So Fischer took. Yeah, I was just commenting that sometimes this knight is well placed because, well, if the bishop or queen takes, we can hit it with tempo with this knight. Okay, so Sherwin takes. And now knight e4. So attacking the dark square bishop. But this does more than that. To me, this is also a sort of a developing move. Before knight e4, our bishop is blocked, right? So we want our bishop to be free. This is a pretty nice diagonal, a lot of squares there. So knight e4 frees up the bishop. It's supported by the rook. The rook, this is now an open file. I really do like white here. And Sherwin played c4, which looks ridiculous and would normally be ridiculous. But here I'm going to show you why this is probably the best move. Let's see what the engine says. Okay, engine wants that. I don't know about that. That looks really risky, but okay. c4. If we try to preserve the bishop, like let's say with bishop e7, because like why would you want to give up your bishop pair, especially these top level guys? They like to keep their bishops. Well, if this white plays c4, now the knight's attacked, it must move. It moves here, and now bishop f4. And again, we're skewering, so that doesn't work. So if you can't go bishop e7, maybe you try pawn takes pawn. This is the other move I'd be calculating. If black takes, we don't take back with a pawn. We first take the bishop. Now queen takes, and now guess what? c4 again. Notice this has the same theme. We're trying to kick away this knight from defending the f4 square, and then when he moves, we occupy the f4 square and we get our skewer. So yeah, so you can't really do the normal moves here, or you lose material. And Sherwin saw this, so he played the move c4. Now it's hard to play c4 because I said so. All right. Fischer takes the bishop. I mean, this is a desirable move, even if there wasn't bishop f4 threats, just because you're securing the bishop pair. Not only that, but in chess, you want to take a look at what pieces are good and what pieces are not good. I don't think I like this bishop that much. Okay, he's sort of blocked. This isn't even good anymore, thanks to the pawn on c4. So this is the good bishop. This is the bad bishop. Let's take the good one. That means black is left with a bad bishop. Okay, he takes. Plus, we just secured the bishop pair for white. That is considered a little bit of a material advantage. And now knight g5. So this move was very surprising to me when I analyzed this game, because it looked like a beginner move to me, but I'm starting to learn that these knight g5 moves often have a lot of poison to them. First of all, our bishop has more scope. That's usually good. Second of all, we freed up the f-pawn. We can play f4 if we need to. Third of all, the knight is defended here. That's kind of nice. Third of all, we're starting to make some threats, like maybe queen c2 and we threaten mate right away. So the knight, yeah, he's kind of good on g5. And not only that, he might pivot to the e4 square where he would win the tempo on the queen. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on here. All right, so knight c to e7 was played. Okay, yeah, again, I like this move by Sherwin. It's funny because I mean, aside from maybe the way he played the opening, I think Sherwin played this game extremely well. Like, even when he's in a lot of trouble, he finds some defensive ideas that are very creative, and you're going to see what I mean soon. And I think here he sensed some danger, but he also noticed that, hey, I played c4, and now my knight's terrible. You know, like this guy. And this guy. Like, if you look at where he can move, he can't move anywhere. He's not doing anything here anymore, right? This is guarded, this is guarded, this does nothing. This is defended. So this knight is pointless, and this bishop is pointless. black should really improve his pieces now. So knight here. And this also has the idea of knight g6, which can defend there. It's not great to put your knight there. When there's a pawn on g3, he's sort of dominated, but on the other hand, white has a lot of stuff aimed at the king side. And not to mention the knight. And black doesn't really have a lot of pieces over there. So probably this kind of thing makes a lot of sense. And in a blitz game, I'd probably play those moves really quickly. All right, so let's continue. Queen c2. That threatens checkmate. So Sherwin played bishop d7 and Fischer checkmated him. No. Okay. Knight g6. So this is sort of the idea. He probably saw queen c2 coming and thought, hey, I'll put my knight here. It improves my knight and it defends against mate. And now h4. And Fischer is threatening h5, followed by knight moves out, queen takes h7 checkmate. So h5 is kind of a big threat. Now, one thing I learned during this game that I'm going to share with you is that, yes, I know h5 is the threat, but I was thinking, you know what? Maybe black could play h6, you know? And if h5, I'll take this knight, and white will take this knight. But guess what? Fischer gave this line, and it turns out that this is really good for white, and I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why right away, so I'm going to share that with you. So, I mean, here, you know, you would probably expect this move because, okay, this pawn's isolated and weak. It's probably going to get captured, and it feels like black's safe enough. But if you think that, think again. Queen e2 pretty much wins the game because, well, like my arrow showed, it's really hard to stop this plan. And guess what? This pawn is defending some critical squares. And gosh, I mean, okay, I would try to get out of dodge, you know, maybe this. But after here, so we're threatening check here, check, yeah. I guess here, check. Yeah, and after this move, we have checkmate, queen f7. So this plan is just unstoppable. I don't know. I wonder what the engine says to do against it. Like after queen e2, I'm pretty sure black's lost. So yeah, it says knight e7, but take the pawn and lose a piece. Okay, not recommended. So, okay. Yeah, so that just means that this attack is unstoppable. All right, so hopefully that was interesting for you as well. But hang on to your horses. This game gets better. Okay, we cannot play h6 because of what I just showed. This is what I love about chess, when you can look at moves that make sense, like h6, calculate, and be like, oh, h6 doesn't work. I have to do something else. I think that's so cool. And black does do something else. Knight f6. Beautiful, right? I mean, it looks like everything's defended. Sherwin's probably feeling like, okay, this is fine. I'm going to go bishop b7, trade off this bishop. And I have enough defense over here, and I'm going to be okay. And maybe trick Bobby Fischer later if I can. Well, guess again. White played a good move here. Knight takes h7. Did you see that coming? Okay, this move completely shocked me. Not just because it's defended twice, like, but because I'm sorry, I'm having so much trouble with my arrows lately. But because the knight on g5 is so good, and I feel like we're threatening h5, knight f6 defends it. It defends h5. It defends everything. Stop it. Okay, there. All right. But knight takes h7. So we have to analyze this. What is going on here? Well, we can take with the knight or we can take with the king. If we take with the king, we still can't play h5. This is defended. But what we can do is play bishop f4. Yeah. Guess what? That skewer's still there. Fischer knew this. So he can't really do that. And if he goes knight takes, well, now we go h5. And where are you going to put your knight? This knight, by the way, is defending the bishop f4 threat. Yeah, and this is what Sherwin played. Again, looks ridiculous, but it's probably the best move. If you go knight e7, bishop f4, queen there, and rooks are good in general. And if you go here, you get taken. This move you get taken, but it's actually a pretty interesting move. So Fischer played bishop f4. We don't have to take this guy right away. We're not in a hurry. We can, threaten the queen first. And when the queen moved, now he took the knight. Yeah, and this is really interesting to me. So this shows the power of Sherwin, who lost this game, but still. I think if we take the rook here, it's a big mistake. And most people would play this without thinking. But guess what? Knight takes bishop. This attacks our rook, so we should take. And now, bishop b7 check. And now the queen is going to take the bishop. And once that queen takes the bishop, let's do material count. Bishop knight, queen rook, queen and 2 rooks. So black has 2 pieces for a rook. How did that happen? Well, the knight was about to be captured, but he hopped away and actually traded off. So, not to mention, look at white's light squares now. These light squares are going to get killed by the bishop and queen. And yeah, computer says black is losing now. So, interesting idea by Sherwin. I'm very impressed by this idea of knight h4. And what's funny is that Fischer gave all this. He gave all this already. He saw, he calculated knight h4 during the game because he's Bobby Fischer, and I'm not. I'm just some lady sipping wine and showing you chess. Okay, so knight h4. Bishop f4, of course. Queen away, and he takes the knight. So, like we said, taking the rook is bad. And now, I'm going to turn the engine off. But the engine kind of forecasted what happened. Sherwin found the best move. Rook b7. So you might be thinking, wow, this guy's stupid. He thought he was moving his rook out of danger, and he moved his rook into danger. Okay, but guess what? Again, Sherwin is trying to play for the light squares. If we take this rook, that's not recommended, because now the bishop would take, and black has this plan. Queen takes h4, followed by maybe checkmate on h1. But more importantly, all of the light squares are weak, and white has no pawn cover, and white is not exactly in the best position to defend against all this stuff. And here, the computer says it's equal, but probably means that most grandmasters would take black here, because black has the initiative and the attack. Yeah, and who wants to play f3? Ben Feingold would roll over on that one. Roll over in his grave? He's still alive. Okay, anyway. Let's continue with the game. Yeah, so Fischer played h6, and I'm sorry, I didn't turn the engine off. Okay. h6 to me is a fascinating move. Again, this is not a move I would consider, but I think Fischer thought if pawn takes, bishop takes, this king's starting to get really uncomfortable. The rook's misplaced on e8. So clever move because you can't really take it. Also, I'm threatening to take here. And okay, Sherwin played queen takes h4. Makes sense. You win a pawn and you attack the bishop and you attack the pawn. It's kind of hard to argue with this move. Fischer actually says he thought g6 is better. He thought that after g6, h5, and pawn here, notice this is defended by the knight, the black king is a little harder to get to, and he thought that even though white is better, it's more of a fight in this variation. Okay, hard to see. But queen takes h4 to me makes a lot of sense. Definitely a kiddo move too, you know, like a kiddo move. I work with too many kids, but like I would expect a 14-year-old to play this move, you know. So Fischer took. He's now threatening the rook. King takes g7. And now white has secured another advantage with that move h6. The king is open. The king is open. This rook is silly. This bishop is silly. This rook is silly. So I definitely like white. White has the two bishops. And I don't even know what the material count is, but I don't think this queen is all that threatening on her own. And now I'm going to maybe wrap this up kind of quick because the most interesting parts of the game are over, and now we're going to watch how Bobby Fischer finishes him off. Notice he still didn't take the rook. So that's probably one of the most important things I learned from this game, is to watch the color complexes. All right, so we are threatening something big here. Bishop e5 check would win the queen. And Sherwin didn't see it, and Bobby won. No. He moved queen h5, and now rook e3. I love these little moves, like rook here, but each move like that creates a new threat. Now the threat is rook h3, queen here, rook g3, pinning the queen. So he played f5. That frees up the diagonal for the piece on h6, which doesn't exist. No, the queen. All right, here. And now the queen retreats. Now we have a check. Knight f6. Queen d2. The queen's coming in. King here. What do you really do, though? I'm kind of sure, without turning on the engine, that no one wants to be black here. Queen here, threatening the knight. Yeah, and if the knight moves, we have this square controlled by the bishop. Queen here, takes. Yeah, and Fischer found a winning combination here. I would not be anxious to trade pieces, but he found something that wins the game. Bishop takes knight. Queen takes. Rook h7 check. King here. And now he trades queens. I wouldn't expect that, but it's good because now the rook is attacked twice. It's attacked by the rook and the bishop. And we can simply collect on that. Pretty sure bishop takes makes sense. Yeah. And Fischer did not get to play this move, however, because Sherwin in this position resigned. So, yeah, after this, I mean, white has an extra rook. Kind of surprising that Fischer never got this rook in the game. But I guess you have to make decisions like that during games. If you keep the initiative, maybe it's okay to not develop all your pieces, but usually you want to develop all your pieces. So we're going to fly through the game and just hit the key moments now. So D3, interesting. The way both players play the opening to me is interesting. Fischer played it a little bit passive with D3, but with his King's Indian attack idea. And Sherwin tried to play mysteriously and flexibly in the opening. Didn't really work out for him though. Rook B8 was a little too fancy in my opinion, because now, like Fischer mentioned, Queen C7 becomes less desirable because of the Bishop F4 skewers. Something to keep in mind. Yeah, and here E5 at the right moment, highlighting the fact that these pieces are lined up and the bishop will come to F4. And C4, probably the best move, but not a move you want to play as black. It kind of locks down the queen side, which means you're going to get attacked. Knight G5, he brought all his pieces back to defend, and just when everything looked great, knight takes H7. Wow, what a star move that is. Yeah, no chance I would find that during the game. You have to see the H5 threat, the Bishop F4 threat. You have to see that both captures don't work. And then you have to see not to take the rook on B7. I mean, wow. What a game. H6. Yeah, I would never find that move, but hopefully I will now. And yeah, I think at this point, black's just lost. Yeah, black's lost. But I like Bobby Fischer's precision here too. Yeah, and he realized the moment that he could trade down and win material into a winning endgame. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this game as much as me and also got something out of it as I did, because I think there are some really interesting strategic themes and tactical themes in this game. I'll be back with more games by Bobby Fischer. Thank you, and see you when I have another video. Bye.